Steffi, please go ahead.
Is Broadway still being used by express buses and local buses, or no? Like down here.
Yeah, there are no express bus stops.
No, not stops, but they go through, don't they?
Yes, and the route that they would take is they would divert to Park Avenue South up in the 40s, and right now they come down 5th Avenue and slide onto Broadway and wrap around and eventually make it to Park Avenue South. It's Staten Island Express buses, a small number, and those would just get to Park Avenue South further north in this project.
But would there be any impacts further north where they actually pick people up? If you're taking them off, if they have to be rerouted away from Broadway, and at some point I think on 23rd they do pick people up.
Right.
So will they still be able to do that?
They'll have new stops on 23rd and Park Avenue South where there's existing bus stops now.
Joel?
You mentioned that cars can no longer make a left turn from Broadway up to 17th Street. You said the bike lane is going to wrap around. Is that going to be separately signaled, or is it part of the pedestrian signal? How's that going to be?
Yeah, it would. That's a really good question. The bicycle traffic would move with the parallel traffic, and because it's a left turn, it's a sort of a typical yielding situation. Just want to sort of zoom in here. So the bicycle lane, when southbound Broadway gets a green light, the bikes will also have a green light, and this crosswalk, the one they're driving straight through, the cars and the bikes would have a don't walk. And then this is a left turn, and it would be sort of a yield pedestrian situation on a turn, which is how all traffic, when it turns, all turning traffic conflicts with sort of the walk signal.
Is it the same as the northeast corner?
Yes. Yes. The northeast corner, we would actually be able to separate. It's more of a straight movement across the crosswalk here in this corner you're talking about. They would be able to separate that with signals.
No question. Go ahead, Gene.
I got this really strange question. I keep on having the same strange question. Like when we address Broadway up in Times Square. The way I hope somebody can correct me, because I spoke to the governor about this, and I know you have this wonderful DOT commissioner, but
excuse me, can you talk louder, please?
yes, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I read the rules. Broadway is US Route 9. The only partner I didn't see over there. Keep on taking Broadway away from. Now I got major issues like traffic patterns and stuff like that. Broadway is US Route 9. Have you asked the federal government if you could take Broadway from them? It's not a city street. It goes all the way from Wall Street all the way to Albany. It's US Route 9. I want to go on the record again. Has anybody asked the federal government or the state government if you could do this?
So you know what we'll do? We will have.
Please.
We will get you a detailed response. I want to also consult with all of our attorneys to make sure we're giving you exactly the correct information.
Please.
So maybe I'll give you my card and we can.
No, it's not for me. It's for everybody.
Well,
It's
we'll
like
also give it to the board. Follow up.
Mayor Bloomberg did this with Union Square plan. Check your books. So before, I don't want you wasting time, because Broadway goes from Wall Street all the way up to Albany. It's a U.S. route. It's US Route 9. It's not a city street.
Our understanding in New York City, it's a local road. But we will get you.
Okay,
more information.
So.
And there's just something to add to that. Broadway hasn't gone through to Albany for years. Broadway Times Square didn't go through. Broadway traffic went on to 7th Avenue. Broadway at Amsterdam Avenue doesn't go through, and Broadway was only a one-way street southbound. So it didn't actually do those things. It hasn't done that for decades.
Maybe somewhere in like Westchester also, it didn't
All right,
go through.
we can, we'll get an answer.
Thank
We'll get an answer. Alan.
Just clarify about the bike lane. Comes down Broadway and then it goes across Union Square North. Is that what?
Yes.
Showing? And then what happens when it hits Park Avenue?
In this project, it wraps around and it's on the right side of Park Avenue it's adjacent to park, and we go basically with a class 2 bike lane, a striped bike lane to 15th Street, and then at between 15th and 14th it becomes sort of a class 3 route, and that's sort of the end of the project limits at this point. There's different, basically Union Square is a destination in and of itself that we wanted to sort of get the bike route that we've been doing to, so there's merit in that, but it's possible that future work on Broadway could be done, or future work on 16th Street. One of the lefts you can make is on 16th Street if you want to head over to the East Village and go destinations there.
Thanks.
Two questions. One, this is really great. This is, I used to walk here every day. It's very dangerous. This would be great. My first question is on Union Square West. You said that'll be time of day. Sort of, how would you manage that traffic? Will it be a gate or bollards? Or, well, I'm interested in what it will look like.
Too short to sit down, I think. For Union Square West, we want to get feedback from the community board and the greater community on how you feel about Union Square West. We potentially could envision a French barricade kind of closure, which is something easily moved. It's a very lightweight metal barricade that could be put at 17th Street and then again at 15th Street during the day. So when people stream across Union Square West, as they do, not a table and chair kind of thing, but just a streaming pedestrian area, that might lend itself very nicely for that closure while still maintaining regular access in and out. But that is something we're very open to discussion with. And we also are working closely with the Union Square Partnership because it would be something that we would ask them to help us maintain.
Second question.
Yeah. The second question is, will this follow the model of the other plazas where there be a concession agreement and activities and so forth?
Yeah. Right now, this plaza would not have a concession in it at this time, but that's not being planned. Okay, but there would be, we do agreements with all of our partners, so we would have an agreement with our partners.
The reason I ask the question is because this is a fortunate occurrence where the bid and the park are one and the same. And in terms of, like, for instance, the pedestrian, you say the green market has to be there, so the pedestrians are sort of moved off of the plaza. So I think that, and there's lots of activities in Union Square anyway, so just for the record, I think it's incumbent upon them to take care of it without the extra concession. So I'm happy to hear.
I have a question. Can you clarify for me the floating parking lane and how that works?
Sure. Here. This photograph here, this is Broadway at West 29th Street. So the bicycle lane is moved against the curb, and then there's a buffer zone, and then the floating parking is framed by these green pedestrian refuge islands, which make it much easier to cross the street, much more pedestrian friendly. And then the parking occurs, you can see these vans sort of following the parking adjacent to the buffer. And there are markings, both what we call parking lane stripe and sort of the buffer marking that guide. And when we first started doing this, 2007, on 9th Avenue, there was sort of a lot of anticipation, pilot project, whether folks could park without curb per se, and we weren't even sort of done putting the real markings down. We were putting like the layout markings on, and people were figuring it out, and sort of it's become something that folks can.
So it functions just like a parking, just like parking next to the curb, except it's floating because it's in the middle of
Correct.
the street. Correct. Any other questions on the committee? Just a second.
On 17th Street, when you, I guess the basic question is, are you planning any changes on 17th between 5th and Broadway? Do you foresee any more traffic on it? Because you basically made it the westward exit,
Well,
Broadway.
between 5th and Broadway shouldn't change much because that's on the far side. So if I go back to on that.
Right, but you can park there right now.